Officer, what brings you up here in the rain? I really don't know, sir. I certainly don't feel like I've won. I feel like shit, sir. All the time.
She smiles, a bitter little smile. She means it.
Clearly, I haven't. We're having this conversation, aren't we? How well could it have gone, I mean?
The rain falls on her shoulders, tinting her blonde hair light brown. It smells of industrial pollution and brine.
I'm stuck in Martinez just like all of us. I've been up here for... I don't know how long now. I like to call this my rooftop containment facility. I don't know what to say. None of this is fortuitous for me. Did I? Why do I still feel suspicion hanging over me then? What I managed was to get him killed. I understand that. For my sins, of course. The long-standing sins of a bad, frivolous person. For destroying my first love. For working for bad people. The list goes on and on. The what? Oh, those ones. I don't know, sir. I said I have no idea what to make of them. Honestly, I think they're just trash. I mean, there's no reason for me to think they're somehow connected to her.
She nods, slowly, carefully even. There is suddenly a strange glint in her eyes. Not malicious, but dangerous.
Oh. No, of course not. As I said, it would have been too risky for me to use those documents anyway. My employer gave them to me. In truth, I should have destroyed them.
She doesn't seem to be lying. She's genuinely spooked by their disappearance.
They couldn't know where I put it. I'm absolutely sure I was not followed. And I've told no one but you. You mentioned seawater? I was worried I'd been too careless with the latch. The documents were probably just washed away.
The words, washed away, sound distant and strange suddenly. Somewhere far away, a dog barks.
Ah, yes. The night before I saw you in the hallway and reminded you you're a police officer. Wow. Elysium. You don't hear that term often.
She's a glib girl, but she liked the wording.
There was the usual ruckus. Loud disco music. I can't say. Probably not. Sounded like you were flying solo. Oh, yes. Various artists. Ostentatious orchestrations prime among them. Oh, were huge where I come from. I was very young then, of course, like 7. Life gets hard, but we go on.
Then, doesn't life get hard because we go on?
I don't know about that. At around 2 o'clock, the disco stopped and there was a change of pace. A slow, sad song started playing, like organ music on repeat. That went on for quite a while. Some of that time you were yelling along to it. That it doesn't matter anymore and that we're alone now. It was difficult to tell. The song itself was very quiet and soft, but you sounded like a wounded boar, sir. It was hard to understand what you were singing on top of it. Don't be. I was going out later anyway. It didn't bother me. Then you started screaming and trashed the place. No, it didn't sound like there was a fight. It sounded like someone was trashing their room. A window was smashed, the tape player probably, the song stopped. And furniture too. A real destructathon. There was screaming. Then I think you passed out. I think you screamed that you didn't want to be this type of animal anymore. I may have misheard, but it was sort of memorable. I went out afterwards. Everything was quiet by then. Around 4 or 5. And that was it. No problem, sir.
A warm column of air rises around you, encircling the building you stand on. You feel its twisting shape, bits of paper and birds on the thermal, along with several million liters of water, all rising up into the great Enceladinian sky. Because it's warm, from the gathering spring, from the oceanic current flowing into the bay, the people on the streets, and the machines that hum in the harbor. Heavy fuel oils, too. From the vapor, a great cumulus is formed, a cloud castle 1,000 meters high. A flock of seagulls screams, hitchhiking on the thermal. They too are part of the procession, the honor watch. For her, the guest, waiting, as safe as you keep her. For Gloria, soon these clouds will all fall down as rain. Spring will come. 2 more months, maybe less. It's time.
You mean here in Martinez? I'm waiting for the miracle to happen. It'll take one to get me out of the mess I'm in. The return, of course. Now, I know I'm not from around here. I would only be hitchhiking. The return is a big hit in the industrial espionage circles. A lot of desperate, seedy types there. All screwed in this unipolar world. Don't you know, sir? I thought you were from around here. You look like Mr. Revachol. The return, well, it's part urban myth, part political science. It's a fool's hope, sir, and it's also all I've got. They say there will be an event, that it will happen somewhere here. In Revachol West. They say it will happen soon, and that it will change everything. Of the king, of the nation, of communism, return on investment. I don't know exactly. It's meant to be vague, as promises generally are. But at the same time, I mean, things can't go on like this forever. Something will give. It always does.
It's an empty vessel, an amphora waiting to be filled. Something always returns from the past. It's how the future happens. Many guesses turn out to have been right.
As I said, there's talk. In the competitive intelligence crowd, a lot of people, like me, who need a new color on the map. It's all blue, you see, and that blue doesn't like us. No, I came all this way on a false passport and some money. To hide, mostly. In the most volatile part of the Real Belt, where it's easiest to disappear. Where the walls are still porous and you can slip through. This is just something to get me through the night, you know? A little espérance.
Still, the story influenced her choice of where to run. It must have some hidden layers.
Soon. But it's been soon for almost half a century now, so don't hold your breath. Yeah, I guess it is.
So she thinks, at least partly, that this return will feature a self-governing Revachol. She has already placed her bets.
I do. Something is happening in this city. I can feel it. When I'm out here at night.
Her thought trails off. The wind picks up again. Above her, a great cumulus cloud rises, ready to fall down as precipitation. April will come, then May. A month, maybe 2 from now. You shudder. The feeling dissipates. The thought ends. The bed is still cold from the broken window, and not too inviting. But it's yours. You've earned it. The unchanged linens are only getting greasier and greasier every time you crawl among them. Like some wounded animal, you close your eyes and ask for sleep. Just some hours of regular sleep, please.
It's easier this time, drifting off Your head has found a comfortable indent in the pillow. Your legs and your torso feel like lead weights sinking to the bottom of the sea until they're suddenly light.
This respite, you've earned it, brother. Bask in the darkness. Let it swallow you up and swivel you around while you forget everything you've managed to remember. No, this is the one before that. We'll just keep cycling it for you if you don't mind. As long as we can. Spin it like black yarn.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
You're welcome, Harry boy. You earned it.
After centuries of darkness, the alarm rings. But what's this? You actually feel rested. There's no time to cuddle with your pillow, however, or as much as shiver from the cold. The world awaits.
Go. You don't have to. You already have. A long time ago. These thoughts formed in you somewhere, in a long-forgotten discussion, behind the kitchen table, in the evening light, drinking coffee and smoking, with a friend.
What? But Pale isn't here. We're thousands of kilometers from the edge.
She looks up into the darkness under the nave, then back at you. You have her full, undivided attention. The lieutenant's, too. He takes his glasses off.
Then what is that?
It's nothing. No, it's less than nothing. No.
Then the Pale is... But the gradient, it clearly hasn't started yet. We're here, and the Pale is not. I understand. A theory of the Pale where instead of an outer ocean, it metastasizes, like a cancer or a mold, erupting in points inside the world. According to this, how long and information causing data losses in the East Insulindian front. Have you considered why it's formed in a church? And also when or how it might start growing, or if it has other effects in addition to sound and data?
An intellectual hunger fills her now, casting fear aside.
I also have a question, since we are piling them on. How do you know this? I'm not doubting you. I'm simply curious as to how a detective of the RCM
Knows how to think this.
Of course! A pine wood sarcophagus, or a containment facility of some kind, built by the first settlers. I have considered the same. The bad news is, there were 7 pinewood churches built in the first decade of provincial settlement. Most of them were burnt down during the revolution, or repurposed before, during the suzerain. I'm not saying all of them have one in them, but...
Some of them might. A black grain hanging in the air.
You think the presence of that puncture has somehow influenced the outcome of events here? Even say software development?
She already made up her mind when she heard it. Some kind of great and uncaring force had to play a part. It wasn't only them.
I told the producers we need to go and move to a normal office building with amenities. But no, the artists like the milieu, the writers like the history. I told them. You mean Plaisance and the dice maker? There was almost no one left when we packed up. Then go tell her.
an amateur anthropomedic police officer. I'd like to say I've heard stranger things, but I'm not sure. This is a hell of a guess, however. Well worded, I might add.
Yes, It is very interesting, but I wouldn't say you know. This is a guess. One that's going to have to be proved by anthroponetic scientists.
She falls silent. The wind blows in through the hole in the stained glass window, cold and moist.
I'm going to leave that out. But the rest? Some of this I can use to start to explain this to the rest of the team. Maybe I'll sound mad, but...
Man, you will certainly sound mad.
One more thing. Maybe a club for anodic music isn't the worst thing you can erect around this particular point in space.
Yeah! Once the light is on in the universe, it will never go out!
Thank you, Egghead. Let's leave it at that, shall we? We have an anthroponetic detection to perform in this district.
The creepy woman! We were wondering about that when we worked there, but I had completely forgotten about it ever since. It must be anthroponetic crosstalk, the one you get in radios and long-distance calls. Now it makes sense, with the pale right on the doorstep.
Incredible. This would also explain why we get it on the police radio all the time.
It's quite common, actually. When the signal gets routed through Pale, all kinds of irregularities take place. You may hear snippets of someone else's conversation, or the voice of your former lover, or an echo of an event that took place 100 years ago. Pale is a shroud of memories, and it doesn't really distinguish to whom those memories belong to. You could hear anything. Anytime.
Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center. You're at home, stupid cop. Not with the art crowd. You hate them. Everyone hates them. Even they hate themselves. It's nauseating. An industry built on sprezzatura and sparkling wine. And, let's be honest, tax evasion schemes. The Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center is the heart of this unholy symbiosis of aesthetics and tax optimization. And now that you've internalized it, you can have a piece too. You close your eyes and vacate your skull, leaving your brain to wonder, where did that little fluttering light go?
Total darkness. You sink down the darkest fathoms of your own personal deep, vertebrate by vertebrate, through the unformed skulls of your mind. Here it will begin. Who fucking cares? No, not good. Orgasmic. Oh, don't worry. The music's still there. It's you who is gone. This is a pivotal moment. Try not to piss yourself. Nothing. Just the immaculate silence of your spinal fluid. Electrified.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Every vertebrae in your spine is an unformed skull ready to pop up and replace the old one. Like shark teeth. The one you're currently in has a little brain forming in it, waiting for its turn to rule the world. In the spinal cord!
From what I can see, it's about to bust a move.
Foolhardy, do you even know what's happening on the surface? Maybe 1,000 years have passed. Or maybe you started spazzing out like 2 seconds ago.
With your eyes still closed, the first thing you feel, all the way back in the pivoting darkness of your own torso, is warmth. You have become a triumph of rhythmoplastics, somewhere in a smelly wooden church on the coast of Revachol. The wounds from the war you waged on your body are healing, twist by twist. Turn, by turn. As you open your eyes, you should scream, "Hyper, hyper." It seems appropriate. You have become a flawless interlocking mechanism, a flesh and bone approximation of the throb coming from the speaker setup of the one called Eggheads, entirely, rigidly imbecilic, without pity or fear. Free from self-awareness, no deliberation, only, and I mean only, execution.
Oh my god! No way!
With his reel-to-reel mixer blasting the anthem of a future that will never come, the young man observes your moves for a second.
Ah!
He throws a screwdriver and a bunch of drill chucks into the corner and explodes into dance. What he lacks in sharpness, he more than makes up for in violent enthusiasm. The young woman lifts her headphones up slightly and raises her chin, looking at you expectantly.
Asil, aren't you going to dance?
No, recording.
The lead programmer throws the other young woman a knowing glance before turning her attention back to her own work. She's still at her mainframe, pressing buttons, reading printouts, but she started nodding her head along to the music. The young man immediately bounces up and down, then assumes the same dance pattern, embellishing it with some sort of waving motion. The authority of the law is clearly unquestionable.
What's going on here? Delinquents.
This is clearly a Code 31 emergency. The lieutenant squeezes the bridge of his nose. The lights reflect off his glasses. He's obviously having trouble adjusting to this new reality.
A Code 31 emergency? Really?
The lieutenant crosses his arms with a bemused look.
What's happening? Good for you. Rock on then. What?
Who's the one in charge? You are.
Are you kidding me? Get my what on? Sheesh, okay. Okay, you psychopath. I see what you're doing there. It's jacked up footwork, plus some... Is that Ubi folk dancing?
Nah, it's not Ubi folk. It's hardcore.
Yeah, whatever. Oh yeah? I did 15 years in the juvenile crime unit. I can do age inappropriate. Now, check this shit out.
The lieutenant begins to heel kick the church floor with such intensity, it's reasonable to fear he'll kick a hole right through it, causing the floor to crack and the pillars to collapse, bringing the church roof down on all of you. It doesn't look like he'd give a shit either. The dynamic motion of your flailing body is bordering on the extreme. You're going off the charts. You feel as if turning on the hyperdrive will be a point of no return. Feels almost melancholy. Are you sure you have the entire posse along for this?
Here we go again. Hardcore fills the air. The sound above my hair.
The what now? The sound above your what?
Above my hair, man.
Okay, this is too imbecilic. Excuse me.
On the coast of the Martinez Inlet, in a small weather-beaten stave church, built 380 years ago by settlers from the Occident, most likely to guard against an anomaly at its center, an officer of the RCM is contorting his body into idiotically rigid shapes as he invents the future of dance music. It's the hardest anyone has ever danced.
I am La Revacholière. I am the city. I am a fragment of the world spirit, the genius Loki of Revachol. My heart is the wind corridor. The bottom of my air is red. I have 100,000 luminous arms. Come morning, I carry industrial dust and let it settle on tree leaves. I shake the dust from those leaves and onto your coat. I've seen you. I've seen you. I've seen you with her. And I've seen you without her. I've seen you on the crescent of the hill. The modulations of my voice are noted down with thermometers and barometers. You feel me in your nostrils, on the little hairs on the back of your neck. I also reside in your lungs and vestigial organs. Everywhere there is space. You are an officer of the citizens' militia, Jante and Rebut. When you wear your coat, you wear my soul. You move through my streets freely, in motor carriages and on foot. You have access to the hidden places. You also circulate among those who are hidden. I need you. You can keep me on this earth. Be vigilant. I love you.
An officer of the RCM is lying on the floor of a small church with his eyes rolled back and his tongue lolling out. Several others are standing around him. He slowly comes to.
Had a good rest there?
Fuck yeah! I bet you did. Those were some advanced moves, man.
That's all great, but we should really get going. We spent enough time doing aerobic exercise for today.
You might be imagining it, but it feels like Egghead turned the volume down. Such is his respect.
Man! Now, man! Now imagine if we could do that, right? But with like 1,000 people. End of human development. Mission complete. All right.
You're absolutely beat. Muscles relaxed and feet like noodles underneath.
Goodbye, officer.
Oh, it's you again. Are you looking for a die? You mean the curse that I'm spared of because I live outside its immediate reach? I'm listening. Excuse me? A 2mm hole in reality? This can't be true.
I'm afraid it is, ma'am. Sona Lukanen killed the former lead programmer of Fortress Accident made the discovery.
Sona is involved in this? So it's even worse than I thought. It's not just the commercial area that's cursed, it's the entire world.
She looks outside the window where daylight has filled the yard.
Just Martinez? In any case, thank you for stopping by. It's good to have an answer, even if I can't claim to understand it fully.
Officer, care to play a game with the lonely old man? Actually, never mind. Wouldn't be the same. The prick is gone. I can barely believe it, but he's really gone.
He is trying to retain his jolly facade, but the underlying sadness casts a deep shadow over his wrinkled face.
Hell, most likely. He was an absolute Kent. His hungry little heart finally gave out. The dock workers found him in the guard booth this morning. Wasn't even supposed to be working for another week, but he just had to prove how tough he is.
Wait, did he push himself to prove he can pull his weight and doesn't need handouts?
Guess he was about to head home, 'cause when the dock workers found him, he was wearing civilian clothes and not the Kuketu uniform I saw him in all the time. Sometimes I thought he was wearing it just to piss me off. Now the joke's on him, 'cause he's gonna be buried without it.
That means the uniform could still be in the guard booth. Something to keep in mind if you really plan to give yourself to Revachol.
No, René was the most stubborn man in Revachol. Nothing you or I could say would ever push him to do anything. The man was completely immovable.
He has doubts, but right now, he just wants to move on and not think about it.
I repeat, an absolute cunt. Even his old army buddies didn't want him around. He was like an old viper. The only people who could stand to be around him were Jenny and me. She saw something in him when we were just kids and she never lost sight of it. And I thought if the most beautiful being in the world can love him, then there must be something worth holding on to. We've hated each other our entire lives. So much, in fact, that... Yes, I loved that angry prick. He didn't deserve it, but I did. You know what his last words to me were? In Guillaume's time, you'd have been shot without trial. That's what he said to me. He lived a cunt, and he died a cunt. Let's leave it at that. I took them for myself. Took them to remember that old cunt. Nobody knew him better than I did. And I want to remember that old cunt by something.
Strange how old cunt sounds almost gentle when he says it now.
Let me see. This was 60 years ago. We all went to that parade. Young René looked so happy, and Jenny... I'm sorry, officer. I just... Thank you. Thank you for this little memorabilia. It really means the world to me.
That was nice. A small thing for us, but invaluable to him. He probably didn't even know René had the photo. Yes, we are both very sorry for your loss.
It is what it is. Part of life, really. But to know someone for 79 years, then one day they're just gone. I just don't know anymore. About anything, really. But you must need something. René wasn't really what you'd call a botanist, officer. And believe me, he didn't like Insulindian lilies. That's their old name, dating back to the time of kings and crests, and all that other stuff he loved so much. There were many reasons, but mostly it was the communals. They called them the bells of revolution. I guess in the end, the Insulindian lilies were just another piece of the old Insulinde. The royalists had to surrender to the Mazovian insurgents. It doesn't really matter anymore.
But you feel the dried flower in your hand somehow still does matter, although not to this sad old man. This is the night watchman's booth. The name on the door reads, René Arnaud. René left his uniform neatly folded on the table. Take it. It's just there. Who cares? It's not like anyone's gonna need it. Generally speaking, it would be dishonorable to take it. But then, it looks like a military uniform, and wearing that is very honorable. So, a conflict of honor. It's up to you.
I suppose René is not going to be needing it anymore. It's a bit too colorful for my taste, though. Fantastic. Try not to wear it with other similarly colorful clothes, okay?
You see a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D. A slogan used to intertwine with the loops a long time ago. Now, only a shadow of peeled letters remains. It says, tomorrow is just a whisper away. Above the mural, a collapsed roof, broken windows set in walls that are cracking and will soon also fall, and the coastal breeze rustling and sighing in the remains of the edifice. Feld Electrical. How ironic. All these dark rooms. There's something in the wind. Sometimes the only way to go forward is to fail first. Indeed, somehow you knew it was here. An urban ruin gutted by looters that once used to consume money and dispense warmth and light. You felt it before when it rained in Martinez, and you felt the cold of the rain. The feeling persists. It has been in you ever since.
In there? She could. Or she could be in the identical room over there, or in that boat shack, in that church tower maybe.
Why single out this one building? Even though you're sure you succeeded, all is quiet. There is no cold hand brushing against your forehead, no rustle in the reeds. The wind has died down. The ruin in front of you is silent as a tomb. Trying to talk to the wind, the city, whatever you thought would happen did not, and now you're just standing there in the pale of the morning, with your hands fallen to your side. Is trying to talk to the city something you've done before? Is it in your secret repertoire? A trick for when you're out of ideas? A prayer of sorts to Revachol.
How do we? I was really hoping she'd be in the village. Okay. She's probably north of the village, and this place is a peninsula. We already scanned most of the outdoor areas on our wild cryptid hunt, so we have an understanding of the geography, at least. And then there's the church. We've already searched that and can rule it out. I know it doesn't feel like progress, but exclusion is a step too. Anyway, we do it the old-fashioned way, sector by sector. Go over the whole peninsula, ask the locals, enter the places where we can enter first, like we did in the village. Then, if we're desperate, we can look where we can't enter. Bunkers, storm drainage, this place. I'm sure it won't come to that.
Walk the coast, the old boardwalk, the reeds. You can always come back here and talk to the wind again. Look where it already got you. An adventure awaits. An adventure on the windswept urban coast. Suddenly, there's a sigh, carried on the molecules around you, moving, flowing from high pressure to low pressure, like that of a woman emptying her lungs. She wraps the collapsing stone box in front of you in her breath, flowing through it. In through the collapsed roof, flowing down a concrete staircase to the basement, sweeping away footprints in the dust on the stairs, and then the beach below the boardwalk, its winding tunnels, a whisper away.
She's down there.
Okay. Why? Right. How do we get in there? The doors were on the collapsed side of this building. They're gone, basically.
Finally, my time to shine.
Perhaps you can climb them. We are not climbing anything. I'm 43 years old, and I plan to live to see 70.
A rusty ladder leads to the rooftop. Some of the rungs are missing.
Yeah, that doesn't look good at all.
The distances between the remaining rungs are rather wide. You'd have to use the mounting brackets. However, they seem corroded and the peeling rust is razor sharp. In addition, the first rung is going to be tough to reach. It's what, 3 meters above the ground, and you're 180? Not to mention that the roof is collapsing and the wind gets pretty brutal up there. Dismounting from the ladder is going to be hard. Perhaps if you were to not climb the ladder. Instead, what if you were to do something more subtle? What if you were to reconceptualize climbing the ladder? Astral projection. Be open-minded about this.
Teleportation is not a thing. This really has nothing to do with adventure. We are dealing with basic physics here. Oh yes, it could hurt a lot.
He is restraining himself from using a parental tone with you right now. All you need to do is close your eyes and concentrate. Darkness enfolds you. You can feel the distance between the bench and the first rung of the ladder. All you need to is... Zoot, zap, pow, crinkle! It's like magic. You feel yourself disappear, your atoms fading out of existence.
Oh my god, I can't believe it.
Bang! You find yourself on the roof having mastered the art of physical displacement.
I just saw you climb the ladder. You just climbed it like a regular person.
The wind at the top of the building starts howling loudly, blowing away the lieutenant's voice. Faintly you hear.
Never mind. Find a way to let me in when you get inside. Don't go adventuring without backup, especially if we think the suspect may be hiding here.
Holding the gun feels natural and satisfying. It's like an extension of your arm, the polished wooden handle almost fusing into your palm. It reminds you of the day you first held it, with fear and respect, hoping you don't have to use it in vain. The sun was out in Jamrock. It was so long ago. At last, the fastest hand in Revachol reunited with the slickest tool in the north. You're gonna be the envy of the town, baby. Two rusty metal plates that slide apart form a crude door. It's been here under the boardwalk for a while.
What do you mean who's there? It's me, Kim. Stop playing around and help me get the door open.
The doors seem to be on rails, but they've gotten jammed. You grab a side and put some strength into prying it open. With the help of your partner, the two metal panels slide open with a creak.
Huh. I hope no one dangerous heard that. Yes. Time to investigate these passages. Let's move quietly and not make more sound.
Not running is a great way to do that. Could this have been the killer's hideout? And this narrow window, the point of origin of the shot that killed the mercenary? This does look like an embrasure, a slit made for shooting out of. Outside the window, another day. The beach sand soaks up the drizzling rain, growing darker and darker.
It's a great place to hide, certainly, but there hasn't been anyone here in ages. Indeed, no one could get a clear view. Well, at least we've been thorough. I like thorough.
The lieutenant's voice betrays a slight disappointment, which he glosses over by reasserting control. A mustachioed and mutton-chopped man, amateurishly depicted, gazes at you with sad eyes. A plaque reads, K. Mazov. There is a spiderweb in the lower left corner of the portrait. Years' worth of dust is shaken off. The full head of hair, matched by an ample moustache and sideburns, look a bit silly. Someone crouches, heels digging into wet sand. Hands sweep across the sand, grains sticking to the frayed skin of the fingertips. An old man sits on a slab of concrete and taps his fingers against the glass of a scope. You shudder.
Yes. Looks like some latter-day radicals were hiding out here. They left a long time ago. Half a century? This was probably part of the network of defense posts the communards built against the amphibious landing. I think the purpose of this bunker was to produce propaganda. It would have had radio equipment back then, but that's all been looted. We have found a lot of those lately. I guess what most people think of as history tends to linger in rundown neighborhoods. Martinez being what it is, no one has gone through the trouble of cleaning out the old bunkers.
Good hiding place for someone who's up to no good.
I won't stand in your way, but only after we're through with this case. Millions of depictions of Mazov have been produced. They're not all connected. Besides, that looked like some student. The youths always go for this kind of stuff. You mean like Ruby? No, I think we've stumbled on a piece of history.
You feel something, like a swarm of hornets buzzing under your scalp. A strange tingling you can almost smell.
No, what do you mean? I don't feel it, but we should still be careful. There were footprints back there, and I'm pretty sure they were fresh. No, but you are the sensitive one.
It's not a quib. The situation is dangerous. He trusts your gut feeling on this.
Looks like our suspect. If she's in here, we need to plan our next step carefully. Once we detain a credible suspect, who knows what the Union and the Wild Pines will do? We'll set in motion events we have no control over.
You will upset the balance of power in Martinez. The deadlock between the company and the union will destabilize. Keep calm. Go over the whole situation in detail.
I leave that to your judgment. You already know what I think about cross-pollinating information like this. It's dangerous, but...
He just can't be sure. Maybe it will yield something useful.
I still don't think that was a good idea. But yes, our affairs with the Wild Pines are in order, since she isn't in Martinez anymore.
Someone's been a very busy boy. Good on you.
Well, we are not responsible for what we can't predict, are we? I don't think the entire city will be razed to the ground.
Let's try not to worry, he thinks. If you can't predict it, there's nothing you could have done.
I think I see a cavern. Maybe more cellars? I think we've been careful enough. We still have the element of surprise.
I wouldn't be so sure. You haven't exactly been sneaking.
Or maybe not. Either way, once we go deeper, there will be no turning back.